Hey everyone, how's it going? This is M.L.S. Weech, and welcome to another weekly episode where we look at some book covers, talk about some of the design theories that make them work, offer a few ideas on how to make them better, and then let you vote for your favorite and link down below. Speaking of down below, we would be greatly appreciative if you click the like button, the subscribe button, the bell notification. There are a lot of things down there. And if you just click them all, that'd be great. One in particular is my author link. I'm your humble host, M.L.S. Weech. And I am a self-published author of paranormal, fantasy, and science fiction. And if you go to my author page, take a look at some of my work and see if any of it interests you, that would also be very, very kind. So what we do is each week we look at the winner from the previous week, and then we look at the nominees from this week. And this is one of the bigger ones because it's the last one of December, which means there's going to be two things for you to vote for down below. There's going to be the December book cover of the month, where you pick the best cover out of all the covers from December. And then there will be the first week for the January book cover of the month. Now, you're going to notice it says the 2021 book cover. Look, I know it's January. I know we're talking about January, and I know what next year January will be. But because the contest started in 2021, it will remain the 2021 contest. And if we decide to do future years, then we'll just progress from that point. So I just wanted to be out and be open with kind of where the nominations were coming from and how they were working, so that as we talked, we kind of knew what timeline we were operating with. So that means we want to name the last entry in the December Book of the Month contest, and that is indeed An Outcast in Another World by Kamikaze Potato. And again, I look at covers and I say that's a good book cover, and I go from there. And some weeks are very, very challenging to find the best one, and some weeks it's very, very challenging to find book covers that I think are particularly great. Obviously, I hope the most success for anyone writing a novel or anyone producing work or art. But as an individual, you look at certain things, and this one's not bad. The line art is actually very good. I'm not such a fan of the font, but that means that is the last of 4 entries. And so we will post the link to all the covers for December for you to choose your favorite from, and we can go from there. But that means we can start picking out the covers from January. Let me do some quick math here. What do we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is the 10th month of the contest since I've started it. And so we're going to have January, then we'll have, that'll be 10, and then February, and then March. And then we will pick a book cover of the year from those 12 winners. So that's super exciting. So let's get to it. A little bit of bias factor here. I am a huge Brandon Sanderson fan. So anytime any of his work is released, I am very excited to get to it. I'm not reading Cytonic right now. I'm actually reading Sunreach at the moment. I'm working my way to Cytonic. I don't read as quickly. Well, I still read a lot. But outside of the Bible, I don't have nearly the amount of leisure reading that I had in my younger days. But I am getting there, and I can never really wait to get to a Sanderson novel. And this is his cover for his book Cytonic. So you don't have to vote for this, and I feel like I can be pretty biased as far as covers go, and even content sometimes. But I'll acknowledge it, especially if you follow my blog, which is in the link down below. There's a lot of it. But the point is, I wanted to be open about what a fan of Sanderson I am. This cover is a standard portrait cover. Notice again how the hair has movement, which creates energy, which is important. The lighting makes sense, even if it's, so the subject is backlit. I'm pretty sure that would be spin, but I'm pretty sure the subject is backlit. And when you are backlit, you're going to have shadow in the foreground. So it's realistic, even though the highlight is a lot smaller. I might have turned it and moved it so that the highlight would move up, maybe hit the eye or maybe create a triangle light here, sort of like an inverted, we'd call it Rembrandt. Rembrandt is when you have a triangle of shadow right there. It's a very, and like if you look up any of work, any of Rembrandt's work, you will see a lot of his portraits have a perfect triangle of shadow there. It's created by the nose. There's actually a triangle on your face. That's where that kind of comes from. So good energy, standard portrait cover. It's not amazing, although the font is well chosen and clear. So one thing that I would pride myself on, if someone had said it, this clearly looks like a big five, big publishing company kind of cover, because the text, all the thematic things are put together in such a great way. And it even though it is not integrated into the design, it's still well chosen fonts placed well on the design. And that is a easy tell between a professional and an amateur in that regard. And so that's something that you would expect to see from a best-selling author or someone of that sort. That doesn't mean I always like them, but like fonts, I always like the text that they chose. That doesn't mean that's always true, but it is indicative of more successful companies, which is why designers and independent authors should look into that and think about where their text would go and what text would work best, especially when you're doing a series like the Cytoverse. So that's that cover. There's a lot to discuss there, but we're here to talk about book covers, and that's what we're doing. The next one we're going to talk about is Spark by Hadwin Fuller. So I love the space battle covers. I like space battles. I grew up watching Star Trek: The Next Generation. So I'm always excited to see like little ships taking on big ships. Ever since we saw the Enterprise, like chilling up against the Borg cube, that's always been kind of a fascinating contrast, and we have that same element of contrast here. It builds this sense of unbeatable odds. The text again is very, very well chosen. The lighting and rendering of the ships is very well done. So I think this is a great science fiction space battle cover. Third cover we're going to look at for this week is called The Wayward Tower by Nancy O'Toole. So this is way more simplistic than either of the other two. Not that Cytonic was incredibly simplistic, but hey, look, it's text and line art. But you can do a lot with text and line art. In fact, there are some book covers I like better because they're just text and line art. I don't know if I'd say that about this one in comparison to the two we looked at so far. But look, I know what this story is about. I know what the title of the story is. The font is well chosen in relationship to the line art that is there. And it creates a sense of tone. Feels a little dark for a Rapunzel spin, but maybe it's darker in its presentation. I don't know. But I saw Tangled, which I personally feel is the second best Disney movie ever, number one being Aladdin. You can at me in the description if you want, but those are my opinions, and this is my YouTube channel. So there you go. The efficiency of the cover should not downgrade the quality of that cover, and this is all about efficiency. Fourth cover we're going to look at is Get Smoked or Go Home by Martha Carr and, you guessed it, Michael Anderle. Again, I am not particularly a Michael Anderle fan, although I do love his covers. I've never read any of his work, but he keeps releasing product, and I look at book covers every week. And whoever he works with knows how to design covers. This is more dynamic a portrait, but it's still in essence a portrait cover. Here we have the figure backlit, so the light doesn't necessarily obey the rules of light, because she should be much more shadowed in front than she is. But people like seeing faces, so that's kind of one of those things that sometimes people excuse in art. I kind of waver, if I'm being honest. With Cytonic, the face was more in shadow, but it was more realistic, so it didn't feel wrong to look at. Here, yeah, I can see the face brighter, but it feels wrong because it's not realistic. It doesn't do what light does. And even if you don't consciously know it, your eyes know what light should do, and your eyes don't like it when light doesn't do what it's supposed to do, especially because these are essentially the God's greatest light measuring devices and how they generate and send data to our brains. So these are all things that work together. It is an artistic decision to decide whether to violate that particular rule for the sake of giving the eye a face it wants to see, or denying the rule for the sake of giving the eye the lighting it expects to see. It's a conundrum that is often created, so each artist should be allowed to pick which one it wants to do more. When doing modeling, it's a very common thing to have especially a woman model take a step forward. It accents hips. As someone who's trained in weapons, I would hope that no professional would stand that way while holding and firing a weapon. I would certainly really appreciate it if someone shooting were looking in the direction they were shooting. I don't want any of this wild west stuff with people shooting around. So that's honestly the pose is what I have umbrage with. It bothers me in a tactical sense, but I don't know how many people like read his work and follow tactics, things of that sense. So there are people who might be like, I think it looks cool, and I'm like, cool, but whatever she's shooting at, I doubt she's hitting. I don't. Her eye or even her pupils, if you zoom in, she's not even like doing a quarterback thing where quarterbacks are trained to like move their head to move the safety. No, that's not even the thing. So, as much as I love Michelangelo's covers, that is a thing that perturbs me, but it doesn't change the fact that the subject is rendered well. The lighting, the coloring of the light is cool. The color of the cover is cool. Not such a fan of the text, but overall, still kind of cool to look at. So still worthy of being in this week's competition. So I'm going to bring up this next cover, and I'm going to just acknowledge it. The more I look at this, the more I'm like, that looks so familiar. So every now and again, what authors do is they find royalty-free art, and they use them for their covers. If you are an artist and you want to sell your art, you can sell the same art to 100 artists if they're willing to do that. I think it's a little taboo. I wouldn't recommend it. And I feel a little guilty sometimes because I'm like, I don't know. I'm relatively certain I haven't looked at this cover before, but that art of the woman with the hair going around the green eyes, it bugs me more and more each time I see it. So I don't know. So if you look at it and you go, it looks familiar, I'm like, yeah, it probably does. But this is fantastic art. With relatively solid text, good use of layering. I have no idea what's going on with that question mark in the corner. Like that question mark in the corner not only baffles me, but also frustrates me. I don't understand it. And maybe it's just a file aspect of when I saved it. If I cared enough, I'd go to the Amazon page and see if it's on the actual Amazon website. But all of those issues aside, that art is tremendous art. And I hope that artist got paid for that image rather than that artist putting it on a royalty site for people to use. At the very least, I hope the artist was credited. I don't know. I haven't looked into it, didn't even look in the front cover, but those are thoughts that I'm having that makes a lot of sense. For all I know, maybe they commissioned this author, maybe the other guy plagiarized. Maybe I just look at book covers a lot, and after a while they all just kind of look the same. Those are all possible things. So if you've been following this and you're like, no, that's from this one from 3 months ago, let me know. And wow, you are way more attentive than I am, because I just picked 7 covers. I'm like, they look like the best covers I could find in the time I took to look. So that's kind of how I work. 2 more book covers to look at. There we go. Look, that worked out, or at least it says it does. I'm going to stop just to make sure that I'm sharing what I think I'm sharing. Oh, even that's awesome. There we go. Now we are looking at a cover that I like more and more as I look at it, if I'm being honest. Like, these kind of covers are fun. So this is Rot of Serpent and Snow by E.J. Kitchens. And when I first saw it, I thought, oh, that's a pretty nice portrait. And it's a dual portrait, so it's a little bit unique. I love the color is what it is. I love the color and I love the light. So again, when you backlight people, and even though it's not like a super bright area, that's a white background because it's snow or mist or whatever you want to call it, but it's a brighter background. So this magic power, this omniluminous ball of magic, I would assume, is serving to light these people from this direction, which is a very clever out. You see people do it a lot, sometimes light circles around them. There are all sorts of things of that design. But the style of the art, the rendering of the art, the color of the cover, the use of the text, this is the kind of cover that the more you look at it, the more rewarded you are. And that really says something to it. It is not horribly complex. Most good book covers are simplistic, but as simplistic as they are, the more you look at it, the more you appreciate it. If you can do that, you're really doing something right. Only one more book cover to go, and that is Legacy Earth by Ross Buswell. So this is again, it's another standard book cover. The individual is interacting with the scene. It may be a clip from the actual story, but the rendering of the art is good. The landscape is interesting, although I wish I was further back and higher up, because I see all this stuff falling down on this landscape and I can't really see a whole bunch of landscape. But the rendering of the figure is quality. The proportions are good. The art is solid. And so I thought it was a nice addition to this week's covers. That is all 7. Which was your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. Please make sure to vote for your favorite. Remember, there are 2. There's the overall for all of December Ball of Wax December book cover of the month, and then there's the first week of January, where you can be the one who helps choose which covers go into the overall January book cover of the month. Thank you all for joining me. Please have a blessed weekend, and as always, God be with you.